Back in the old days, there used to be this young, talented, good looking musical artist that was on top of the world. And that young man was Justin Timberlake. In 2006, Justin Timberlake released one of the biggest bangers of that year, and that song was called Sexy Back. One of the main lyrics of the song is, I'm bringing sexy back. And did Timberlake bring sexy back? You bet your sweet ass he did. And the reason this is important is because in the current year of our Lord 2024, director Luca Guadagnino has replicated what Timberlake achieved in 2006. In the current climate of modern day Hollywood, there seems to be a lack of sexy. Sure, there are hot people in movies, that's always going to exist, but the sexiness has all but been erased. That all changed this weekend with the release of Guadagnino's new film, Challengers. Because with Challengers, Guadagnino has most certainly brought sexy back, and them other films don't know how to act. Get your sexy on. Challengers, starring Zendaya, Mike Faist, and Josh O'Connor, is about a group of up and coming tennis players who share a brief, intimate night together that alters the course of their lives. What happens next is a fun, sexy love triangle full of deceit, tragedy, and tennis. One of the things that surprised me in this movie is what it's actually about, or what it's ultimately about by the time the credits rolled. So much of the movie, we the audience are wondering who Tashi's going to end up with, or who she actually loves. But by the end, we're left with the question of whether or not these two men even need Tashi. That's because what starts as a love triangle ends with bros before hoes. Art and Patrick are best buds, and the movie, to my surprise, actually gives you visual cues to showcase that they're not just best buds. It's best buds who love each other, and maybe more. Whether it's a quick shot of Patrick putting his hand on Art's knee, or a quick shot of Patrick using his foot to scoot Art's chair closer to him before Art sits down. These are all very quick, blink and you'll miss it insert shots, but it tells you a lot about their relationship. They both fall in love with Tashi and think they need her to further both of their careers, thus breaking their love apart. But by the end, I think the question the movie puts forward is, do they really even need her? Maybe they had everything they needed when they had each other. I think both of these men realized this, and I think Tashi also realized this in the final moments of the film. I think the choice to end the film focusing on the relationship with these two men instead of who's going to end up with the girl was a big surprise to me, and I loved it. And on top of all that, this is all happening during the climax of the film, which is an important tennis match between Art and Patrick. It begins with, oh no, who's going to win? But by the end, it really doesn't matter because it's less about who's going to win and more about their relationship to one another, and I thought that was pretty special. As I said in the opening, this film is sexy, but it's not sexy in an over the top way. This movie is not gratuitous, but it has many sexy scenes and sexy cinematography. Hell, I'd even argue the score from Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross is sexy, which is basically a marriage of disco and techno. Even some of the tennis scenes could be classified as sexy, with close-ups of sweaty body parts and flexing muscles. The tennis scenes are very well done and inject some interesting methods of filming. One example is using the ball as a camera. Although most of the tennis matches in this film are brief, it makes up for it in the finale with the match between Art and Patrick. It isn't on the edge of your seat type stuff like Rocky or even something like Warrior, but again, I don't think this film is interested in the outcome of the match. It's more interested in the bond between these two men. And man, was it great to see Zendaya on the big screen. Despite Zendaya's popularity, she really hasn't been in a whole lot of movies. Her two biggest movies are Dune and Spider-Man, but in both movies, she's just the love interest. And yes, one could argue that she's just the love interest in Challengers, but I think it's a more nuanced role compared to her other roles. After watching Euphoria a few years back, I knew that Zendaya was one of, if not the most talented working actors today, and Challengers only supports my opinion. Sure, her role in Tashi isn't the flashiest or most dramatic role she's taken, but her charisma on screen is undeniable. Tashi is cold, calculated, and driven, and Zendaya fits into these shoes effortlessly. Even though Zendaya is the powerhouse here and most certainly the main reason people are buying tickets, she's not the only one lighting up the screen. Faist and O'Connor are absolutely brilliant in this movie, and I don't think I've seen either of them before, but just from this film alone, I think we'll be seeing them pop up a lot more because they are just incredible. There's a lot I loved about this movie, some of which I haven't even touched on here, such as the structure of the film and how it flashes between different timelines to tell the story. If there's one major criticism I have with the film, it's that I didn't really like most of the characters in this film. The three main characters are all pretty shitty in their own ways, which makes it difficult to root for any of them. That being said, I did buy into the friendship of Art and Patrick, so in the end, it did land for me, but I'd be curious to see if it lands with other people. Overall, I really recommend this movie. I enjoyed the hell out of it. It is a bit long, but I think the length is worth it. It has incredible performances from its lead cast, It's got some great tennis scenes, an amazing score from Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, and it's sexy as hell. Summer has come early this year. Please go check out Challengers if you want some sexy back in your movies.